Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters in video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 70.
The big 7-0. Yeah!
But, and those of you who've been here for a long time know what I'm going to say, before we get into the show, we have some things to go over here. If you'd like to contact us, you can do that over on Twitter or Instagram at Lore Together. You can do that through email at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, there's a couple ways you can do that. One is giving us a 5-star rating wherever you can. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean, all those allow you to do it. If you'd like to support this podcast, like our newest patron, Northern Loon. Hello,
hey,
Northern Loon.
Welcome to the Patreon.
You can do that over on patreon.com/loretogether. We can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes, as well as access to other things that will be coming in the pipeline very shortly.
The one I think is one of our best achievements, actually, is the Loric thing. And
I have to do more of it.
And I'm kind of jealous of Mystic, so I think I might do a Dragon Age one, and I have to figure out the RP element of that. So, and it'll get ready for what we're affectionately calling the dad hype in the Dragon Age fandom.
Oh, geez. All right.
All right. So, okay, it's episode 70, getting back on track.
We're going old.
We're finally doing a game that is old, which is great.
This franchise had its first game complete development 30 years ago.
Wow. Nice. I'm here for it.
I'm going to assume you're not going to know this. I'll tell you some stuff, though.
Who knows? I could just randomly... I happen to hang out in some pretty nerdy circles.
It was developed by Presto Studios.
Okay, I know of Presto with the Magic Hat logo, so I know of this, yes.
It's probably their other big game series aside from Myst that they only did one of, but they did.
Right.
Yeah. You don't remember what it was? I think I mentioned it during our Myst 3 episode even.
I'm blanking.
That's fine.
I'm drunk on brownie right now.
We're going to cover the Journeyman project, Pegasus Prime.
I am absolutely unaware of whatever the heck you're talking about now.
Okay, Journeyman project originally released in 1993 after being completed in 92, and it was in development for a few years.
That's right. 30 years ago is now squarely in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel old.
It was remastered in 1987 as the Journeyman project Pegasus Prime with updated visuals for the time.
Okay.
The game spawned 2 sequels, the third of which was my only foray into the series until playing the first one for this show.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of things on the Patreon, your blind playthroughs are on there.
Including the next one, which gave me motion sickness. So that's our next episode, episode 71, which you guys don't know about yet. So
that full warning that's happening, I guess.
Yeah. But my only time playing the third game was 20 plus years ago, and I didn't get very far into it. I don't think I was ready for that game at the time. Riven came out around the same time, I believe. Maybe not. No, Riven did come out at the same time, but I just don't think I was ready for that game at that time.
Okay.
There was also a 4th game in the series, which was canceled sometime in 1998 due to Myst 3 being early in development and that being the bigger IP, I would assume. As for if the series will ever have a rebirth, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
But this feels like... I've not heard anything about this.
Right. This is back in the day when a whole franchise selling 500,000 copies was good.
So this is like before...
Yeah.
Well, how many did Myst sell in its first year?
Myst was in the millions, I believe, eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
But, yeah.
And then The Sims surpassed that. I don't know what's the biggest selling franchise now. But I just
biggest selling franchise now, I think, is either Pokemon or Mario.
Oh, well...
But in terms of biggest selling game,
yeah.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
And I'm thinking also more PC game, personally.
Right.
Because I know that's what Presto does, right?
Yes. In fact, to a point that once PC games started declining, and consoles started taking off. The death of the PC that was so talked about at one point.
I blinked in it, and the death of the PC got revived pretty quickly.
Right.
Personally.
Well, that death of the PC kind of caught Presto off guard.
Oh, wow.
And the studio ended up shutting. They only had one game after Myst 3 called Whacked, which was, I believe, a racing game. I could be wrong. But most of the people from Presto actually ended up going into Hollywood and TV production.
Oh, okay.
So,
interesting.
Journeyman Project, for what it's worth, makes use of early CGI and live actors in full motion video. This is not our first game with this.
No, it's not.
This is not our last game with this.
So the mystery game was the first one, I think, right?
The mystery game?
The detective one, I mean.
No, I would call Myst.
Oh, fair. Duh.
Yeah, Myst.
I think of Myst as, because we have the books at home, I don't think of Myst as the video capture, even though that's exactly what it is when you see Atris and the brothers.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what it is.
This will not be our last one. There's some really obscure ones I would do want to get to sometime as well, provided I can get them to run because they are old. We're talking like I would probably have to set up a virtual machine to run Windows 98 or something. Like,
oh my gosh.
So, shall we begin?
Yeah, because I have no idea what the heck any of this is about. So I don't even know what you're going to start telling me.
Let's start with this. It is a sci-fi.
Is Mark Hamill in this series?
No, but he will be in one of our future episodes.
Okay. Because I know okay, nobody tell me what it is on Twitter or whatever, because that's what I usually am looking at. Nobody tell me what series that is, because I know he's in some sort of flight game.
Yes.
And that's all I know. That's all I need to know. All you need to know if you don't know Mark Hamill is that he's awesome. And where have you been?
I believe that would be, I think that's the third or fourth entry in a franchise. So it would be some time before we got to it.
That's okay. It's just the first one when you said sci-fi, video capture. That's, of course, my brain thought of that one.
No, this is more Myst-like.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in the year 2308.
In the year 2000.
So we are going...
I'm sorry, I had to do that joke.
Way into the future.
Way into the future.
Earth was shaken after an alien ship arrived at the airborne metropolis of Caldoria Heights and delivered a message.
Caldoria Heights?
Yes. It came from the Cyrolans, who, after seeing that mankind was no longer a threat to itself, invited Earth to consider a proposal to join a symbiotry of peaceful beings.
A symbiotry of peaceful beings.
Where they would share knowledge and culture with other alien races. After that, the ship departed, saying they would come back in 10 years to receive Earth's response.
Yeah, you better hope the response isn't a nuke at that point.
We pick back up in 2318, so 10 years later. Mm-hmm. Temporal Protectorate Agent Number 5, Gage Blackwood, is a local resident of Caldoria, and he is notified to arrive at work. He's having a bit of a late to work history right now. He's been late the past 2 or 3 days.
Oh.
It's a bit odd. I've heard wikis say 3. In game, it sounds like 2. I don't know. I
mean, maybe they're counting this day where he's also going to be late.
No, because they say if this is their 4th day late.
Oh.
So, he has threatened termination. We are not getting terminated. During his ventures to get to work early, which includes puzzles like, where is my global transport card? And how do I turn off this holographic interface?
Oh, the classic tutorials. Well, I mean, I feel like you have to go with the flow of, like, it's very much like we're going to pretend you're an idiot for a minute. I really like how Disco Elysium does it, where you are an idiot, you are hungover, and you have to find your clothes.
I'm waiting for you to do that episode.
I have to do it. I know, but the thing is that's going to be a beast. So I need a lot of free time. It's going to be probably a 2-parter because of how much extensive history they put in there. Anyway, back to the game we're actually talking about.
So Gage notices that a Cyrillian ambassador has arrived in Caldoria via spaceship and fulfilling the promise made 10 years ago. In the end, Gage is late and is scheduled with basically, you're late, your punishment is to go through and review procedures, background information, and protocols. It's basically a lore dump giving, all us an idea of what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do it, and it's all delivered by an AI staring us in the face. Kind of.
So this AI has a face. Is this kind of like the VI terminals of Mass Effect, or how's it set up?
It's more like so at the time, like now I look at it and I'm like, oh, I feel sorry for this actress because she's having to keep flat affect, and they couldn't just like keep her eyes steady because she's obviously reading the lines in front of her, so you can see her eyes moving
she's
just
like
slightly.
A teleprompter or
Yeah.
something?
So, but yeah, essentially you're getting like a video display of an AI talking to you.
Oh.
Yeah. After you review all of the tutorial stuff, basically, guess what happens?
Something like interrupts your studies and you have to handle it right away?
No, it's a good thing you finish reviewing all of the material that you have at your disposal, because the command center's alarm flare up and a temporal rip has been detected.
Okay, that's exactly what I said. You're like, no, this is, I was like,
But it didn't interrupt. We literally finish and then it happens. I'm being semantic.
yes, you are.
Can you tell we're married?
Ugh.
So let's explain how time travel kind of works in this universe. Time travel is outlawed.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for fears that the past could be irrevocably altered.
So it sounds like they played that Titanic game that we had so much fun with, and
That was a pain to get running. Oh my god.
or if anything, they read the diary of the guy after he changed the past and was like, guys, this was a pain.
We're crossing universes here.
You can't. Yeah, no, that's my headcanon now. The Titanic game happens in this game series as well. And that's why time travel is outlawed, because it's been tried. They realized that this guy had done it, and I don't even know. We can figure out which ending we got.
Right. So, as such, the United Earth government, in an attempt to control violence, no, that's Unreal Tournament, which we did cover also. So we covered Unreal, not Unreal Tournament.
Not Unreal Tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be later on.
Yes. Kind of. Formed the Temporal Security Agency, the TSA.
Oh, gross. Are they just as annoying and security theater-esque?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. In this universe, time is like a fabric stretched taut. Not 100%, but like, just go with me for a second.
Okay.
When something happens to change time, a tear occurs, sending ripples through the fabric.
Okay.
An agent's job is to leap over the ripple in the fabric, basically this oncoming wave of changing history, past the tear, and fix whatever happened to change history.
So they essentially are literally stitching and mending it back together. Before...
I mean, in terms of metaphor?
Yeah,
yes.
metaphor. So they're literally going back with the needle and stitching it back.
Kind of.
So that could get pretty violent pretty quick.
You may be wondering, how do they know if history has changed, since any change would affect the present and the people in it?
Yeah, I mean, and also, as also brought up with Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Didn't expect that.
How do you expect there to be different, like, time changing itself? What if it's just parallel universes?
Right. Well,
You know.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, again, time, when it gets a tear, there's a ripple. So, like, you can watch the changing history approaching your time.
So
like,
it's kind of like you can monitor a wavelength of sorts almost.
yeah, they're monitoring an incoming wave. Once that wave hits the present changes to fit whatever the history is.
So it's kind of like people reading like the tectonic plates for any like activity in case of earthquakes or tsunamis, except it's about time.
That's not a bad one either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that they probably leaned more towards the fabric one, but
That's my analogy.
okay.
So, but when they called it a tear, okay.
Yeah, it's tear in the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
It's a phrase we've heard a bajillion times.
So, there is a pair of historical log discs.
You paused, and I heard there is a pair, and I was like, are we talking about, like, the fruit of knowledge now or something? What's going on?
PAIR.
I figured, but still, okay.
Which has up to the current day information on it. Basically all known knowledge and news and stuff. Basically encyclopedias and all that stuff.
Okay.
One is stored at the TSA, but since that is in the present day, it would be affected by any change in the past. The disk itself would be altered to fit the new history.
Right.
However, and I thought this was kind of interesting, there's a second disk that is a copy of that one. Basically, they're updated every day. That is 200 million years ago in the South Pacific in a vault.
So they could go back in the past to see what the future should be.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, to prevent time travel, they have to use the powers of time travel.
Well, these guys are the only ones allowed to do it.
I mean, you better hope that the butterfly effect isn't a thing.
If history should be deliberately changed, the disk which has been placed in the distant past will not be updated with the new version of history, as it exists in a point prior to any probable change. I mean, humans don't exist at that point.
Right.
So, if a rip in time is detected, the agent on duty can recover the log which has been placed in the past as a source of unaltered historical information. Basically, it's the only thing you have to go from at that point.
Well, yeah. And so then you also have to hope that that there's a very limited number of people who would know where it is and how to access it.
Well, the vault requires a Journeyman key. It's like a key. Yeah.
Okay.
So once the agent has returned to the Temporal Security Annex with the accurate disk from the past, the computer will compare it to the Journeyman log disk, which was left in the present and subsequently altered. And basically, it's using this to cross-reference what's changed and what hasn't. And the computer can then isolate the changed events. And basically, when Gage does this with this new event, there are 3 distorted events considered anachronisms that are found. After comparing the altered and unaltered versions of events, the computer kind of can show you the probability of resolving the rip as a whole with each event.
Okay.
Yeah. The first event, and most likely to resolve the situation, though not the earliest chronologically, is an alien spacecraft sighting by a human colony on Mars, where it originally was supposed to flee and not return. However, the distortion consisted of a spacecraft being shot down by an unknown attacker and the colony being destroyed by an explosion.
Whoa.
The second event occurs at a rally in the World Science Center set in Sydney. The rally was held to deliberate whether the alien message they received by the Sorolans was either a friendly, legitimate overture or a hostile facade. Although most of the scientists invited for the rally were inclined to the hostile theory, Dr. Enrique Castillo, opposing them, delivered an emotive and very moving speech which turned the tide.
Oh, okay.
This resulted in the Sorolans' return to Caldoria in 2318. The anachronism in this time zone consists of the assassination of Dr. Castillo before delivering his speech.
So essentially trying to prevent alien contact.
Yes.
Okay.
The third event dated back to the years of the unification talks around the globe. Gorbistan is one of the last countries to sign the unification treaty, and before the leaders agreed to it, a terrorist faction opposing the move decided to take hostages, some of them American, in protest. In spite of this, Gorbistan still signed the treaty. The temporal distortion here occurs where, by an unknown reason, a nuclear missile is launched from a NORAD-6 station in the U.S. targeted at the terrorist location in Gorbistan.
Oh.
The missile self-destructed, yet it was seen by other governments as a harsh scare tactic by the United States, and they would later pull back on the unification.
Wow. Well, P.S., don't ever take an American hostage, because America's answer to that is, sucks to be you. They do not answer to terrorists at all.
This is why when you go to certain countries, you have to sign a ton of waivers.
Right. You really can't. I mean, it stinks, but...
With this information, Gage jumps again and sets out to resolve the anachronisms. And we're going to start August 3rd, 2185, at the Morimoto colony on Mars.
Okay.
So Gage jumps to this time and lands at the shuttle gantry in the Morimoto colony.
Wait, so Gage is the one doing this. I'm sorry. But he also is perpetually late to work. So he's good enough at his job that they're giving
He's
him...
the one on duty at the time. Everyone else, including, I think it's Agent... Is it 3 or 6? I think it's Agent 3. She goes to watch the Sorolan, basically, delegation.
So he's the only one because he's so nonplussed by the whole thing. He was on duty, and
it was just his day.
it was just his day.
Yeah.
Lucky him. All right.
And once you start the process of like jumping through time, you can't leave the little kind of protective annex, it's like a spherical thing that you're in,
Okay.
because then you'll be in the present.
Ah.
It's like this weird little time bubble thing.
Okay. Interesting.
That's my interpretation of it anyway. So walking through this colony, he encounters a large menacing looking robot crossing by, and after it sees him and photographs him with its camera, it resumes its path, and Gage follows the robot to the maintenance transport cart, which in turn leads him to the colony nuclear reactor entrance.
Oh.
We're kind of doing a little bit of a walkthrough, not entirely, though. We're not going to do puzzle solutions, really. He finds the robot leaving the reactor and quickly gets out of the way after it demands him to do so. Basically, it's just following protocols.
Okay.
Gage then walks into the reactor's entrance.
Just walks right into the nuclear reactor. You would think the security needs to be a little bit tougher.
He discovers that a bomb has been placed in an access card slot and set to detonate.
Ah. Interesting.
Yeah. After disarming the explosive, and he keeps it.
James Bond style, I assume.
Yeah. The bomb is deactivated and the reactor, as well as the colony, is spared from basically blowing up.
But they were trying to blame that on an alien attack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since the robot took the maintenance transport back to the colony, Gage resumes his pursuit via the only way possible, entering a zone beyond the colony with no life support systems. He makes his way through a maze-like area and manages to arrive to an ore processing machine. Then he basically survives the non-breathable air by using an old oxygen mask he finds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, unlike Myst, this game does have an inventory system.
Oh, okay.
So,
and unlike Total Recall, we have not oxygenated Mars, nor is there any easy way to do that.
Colligan, give these people air.
Dude, I just remember seeing the special effects of their faces bugging out as a young kid and just being freaked out.
So eventually he finds this robot again and learns that the robot is boarding a shuttle. And Gage quickly jumps into the last docked ship and gives chase through the Martian canyon of Corporates Minor. It looks like Corporates, but I don't think it's Corporates. I think it's Corporates, but part of Valles Marineris, which is one of the largest canyons in the solar system.
Okay.
Only surpassed by the mid-ocean ridges on Earth. Like, it's huge.
Okay.
But this is a small little offshoot of it, essentially, ending in an atmospheric launch tube that propels them both up into space. Gage's shuttle quickly gets on the other's tail, and there he has two choices. By using weapons such as an energy dampening beam, which drains a small percent of the energy from a targeted ship, or highly destructive graviton cannon, he can destroy the ship. However, he can also use a tractor beam after the ship's energy has been drained below 10% to capture the shuttle.
Right, which of course that would be my inclination. Is like, let's see if we can find out what's going on, and maybe there's a more efficient way than jumping to the next two events to stop what's going on.
Yeah. On this captured shuttle, he gets a final look at the now almost completely deactivated robot and takes its installed biochips for himself.
Oh.
After that, the robot self-destructs. Either way, spares the alien spacecraft from being attacked.
Okay, so there's no attack. There's no idea of violence between humanity and aliens.
Right.
Okay.
So by resolving the anachronism, the Pegasus biochip, which is basically this thing in your suit, automatically pulls Gage back to the time machine.
Okay.
So, which makes sense. The
Right.
longer you stay back there, the more trouble you can cause.
Right. Again, if you believe in the butterfly effect,
Right.
like just going back in time, you've messed up something.
So January 17th, 2310, Sydney, Australia. With 2 time zones left to go, Gage jumps to the World Science Center rally. He lands in Elliot Sinclair's laboratory. Elliot Sinclair is the creator of time travel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. As far as he has a big history, we'll catch up with him later. Inside the laboratory, Gage is confronted by yet another robot who maliciously declares, "I've been expecting you," and then shoots Gage with a tranquilizer dart.
Yikes.
Yeah. Then the robot transforms his appearance to resemble a human bystander and leaves the weakened Gage locked inside the lab.
This feels like the the trick of this is that he needs to build up a resistance to tranquilizers.
Before he can do anything else, he looks around the lab, desperately looking for a cure, basically.
Right. Where's the... No, I'm not going to...
Where's the coffee?
Yeah, exactly.
In there, he finds Dr. Sinclair's log and learns about his original time-bending discovery, as we mentioned. He also learns that the robots he confronted, identified as prototypes and named after Greco-Roman deities, I believe one is Mercury,
Okay, fair. All right.
Were all constructed by him, as well as retrieving video logs depicting Sinclair's advances in developing the biotech interface. This little monocle that Gage wears as part of his suit is, this biotech stuff.
Evidence so far is leading to the fact that it's either Sinclair himself or someone who works closely with Sinclair who's doing this assault on time.
Yeah.
Okay.
After using a compound analyzer to scrutinize the tranquilizer dart he was shot with, Gage then generates an antidote by means of molecular synthesizer.
Ooh.
Yeah, all this stuff it doesn't look bad, but it's also CGI of the era.
That's fair. You know what? It could be worse. You could be in Cronenberg's The Fly.
Oh, jeez. After eliminating the toxin from his bloodstream, he leaves the lab and searches for the prototype robot. Traveling around the science center, he finds the robot and the electrical access to the auditorium, still disguised as a human, awaiting the previously announced Dr. Castillo with a laser rifle in hand.
Oh, okay.
Gage then has two alternatives to stop the assassination. One is by using a set of wire cutters to crack open a safety lock, which itself keeps a fire control system case closed, basically. Yeah. By running a test of the system, the sprinkler from the roof activates and sprays argon, which interferes with the robot's ability to kind of transform.
Okay, so basically revealing him
as
behind his disguise. Yeah.
Another option is to yank off a high voltage cable and place it next to the metal rig in which the robot is standing, and you can guess what happens there.
Essentially choosing violence. You can choose blatant violence.
Yeah. After Gage takes all the biochips he doesn't have from the robot, it also self-destructs. This leaves behind the dart gun, which he fired upon Gage. And now that Castillo is no longer in danger, Pegasus activates and just yanks him back to the present again.
Right. This is sounding very much like Quantum Leap. Yeah, this is sounding very much like Quantum Leap. All right, your job's over. You got to go. Bye. Come on, let's go. So
I've never seen Quantum Leap. So I know the premise, but I've never seen it.
What? Did you have cable growing up?
Yeah, but I had Star Trek to watch.
No, but Quantum Leap was like on Sci-Fi Channel, like nonstop.
I never had we didn't have Sci-Fi.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had Nickelodeon. I had Star Trek to watch, and
you must have had Sci-Fi Channel.
We might have. I just never watched it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, we're gonna have to solve this.
Find a Quantum Leap video game. Good luck.
No. You're just going to have to watch a couple episodes of Quantum Leap, and you'll have to understand why everyone got so excited when Scott Bakula was in Star Trek. We're like, it's the crossover we deserve.
All right, May 15th, 2112, somewhere near South America.
Somewhere near near South America? First of all, that's a whole dang continent you're talking about here. Somewhere near, so are we off the coast of what? Maybe north, south, east, west part?
I think the reason they're doing this is because Gorbastan's not a real place.
And also, it's called Gorbistan.
Which would put it somewhere in...
like, either Eastern Europe or, like, Middle... Like, because, it makes me think of...
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Turkmenistan and that kind of area of the world. Like, it doesn't make me think of what kind of weird... All right. Anyway.
It would be just like why couldn't it just be in the Mediterranean or, somewhere near South America, but, like, tell me a little bit more.
It could be an island nation. Like, just say it.
Like Just Cause does.
Yeah. An island nation off the coast of...
South America.
Like... Or and you could even say off the coast of Brazil, off the coast of Chile. Like those are huge places. If you want to, Gorbistan. So the naming convention doesn't fit the part of the world it's in. And I understand that this is in the future, but it's still like too close in the future for me to actually
Right.
give
I'm
it
with you.
any seriousness. I can't deal. I
I'm
just
with you.
can't deal.
So when Gage gets here, he lands in an unspecified chamber inside NORAD 6.
NORAD 6?
Which sounds like, NORAD is the North American, I think it's radar defense or something.
Yeah.
Or, something like that. Apparently there's 5 more. Could be, for all I know, in real life, have multiple ones, but I don't know.
That's fair.
There he meets the last and probably most dangerous of the prototypes. This one diminishes him by saying, "You are no match for me, human, but I love a challenge." Which is a weird...
So you're no match for me, human biology. So wait, is this the AI? Is this the AI resistance? Is this basically like we want the whole world to be robots, and we can't do that if you allow aliens to peacefully unite with humans? Is that what's happening? That's what it's starting to sound like. Though I'm pretty sure it's a kind of a red herring.
It proceeds to lock Gage inside of the chamber, and then surviving a powerful sleeping gas let loose through the air ducts and ventilation system by using the oxygen mask's air filters.
Interesting.
He exits the chamber only to be confronted by the robot. It shoots 3 phaser rays at him and then enters the missile launch station. Basically, doesn't kill him. Doesn't hit him, I don't think, even if I remember correctly.
I'm just seeing the scene where he just kind of like dodge, and he's
Yeah.
like, I just wanted to sleep in today.
Yeah.
I swear.
Well, no, so the reason he's late is because he was on a date the night before.
Oh, so a pretty hot date, I
With
assume.
well, there's no indication of that at all. She talks about, in a video voicemail, she talks about Thai food and that she's a reporter going to cover the Sorolans coming by. Like, yeah.
But he was out late, so I'm assuming they at least had some fun. Like, I'm not saying anything explicit.
Dancing or something.
Yeah, they were dancing, or maybe they were like they were doing a co-op video game thing. They really connected about each other's feelings and like gave each other foot rubs. Who knows?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, he was out late, and that's why he was late getting up. And he sleeps, like, when you wake up at the beginning of the game, you're on your couch.
He slept on his couch?
It's kind of a couch. I kept clicking also the stupid VR interface that changes your... There's a lot of, they're showing off the CGI with this.
Well, yeah, but also, wait, why does he... First of all,
he has a bed.
He's in his own apartment and he slept on the couch?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I think happened now.
Jeez.
All right. Very quickly. I know you're annoyed with me, but this is how the podcast works. I interject after you do your research. So, it was a very nice date. He actually really respected her, and she thought it was really cool. And she was like, I'm really tired. I really should go home. And it's like, no, don't go home. You can sleep in my bed. I'll sleep on the couch. And literally, like, actually had a really nice, like, vulnerable conversation with her and realized I want to take her, but I don't want her to feel like that she needs to do anything. And then he's like, no, seriously, you go to bed here. I'll tuck you in. And then he stayed up late and he like maybe watched some TV, fell asleep on the couch, and she left early. She got herself a pot of coffee and left a note and said, hey, thanks so much. I'll catch you next time. That's what I think actually happened. So what we're saying is he's late because he's a gentleman, and we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What about the previous few nights?
Previous few nights?
Because it sounds like this is their first date.
So it's like this is a first date.
At least that's kind of how it read to me. I don't know if it's...
Maybe he's... Well, I can't say for the other ones because I don't know if those were also dates. But this one, you're saying it's specifically a date, but he's sleeping on the couch? There's no actual, like, great date last night. She says, I love the Thai food last night, and she's leaving a voicemail about stuff. It just feels... It feels more datey than not. That's why I kind of said date. Well, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Or maybe like they're friends. Maybe they're friends, but they're kind of romantic and they're just like they're taking it slow.
Nah.
Essentially what I'm trying to say is Gage is a gentleman. Gage is a gentleman, and that's why he's late to work. It's a good excuse. I'm going to stick with it. All right. So, headcanon aside, we now have a robot that's run amok in a NORAD missile launcher.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So after basically dodging these phaser blasts, Gage sees the robot kind of struggling to type in the launch codes, like it can't do it.
Oh,
and then suddenly a
interesting.
computer voice reveals that the override station located on another sector is currently unmanned due to the gas that we managed to survive with the oxygen masks filters, knocking out all the people over there present. So,
Wow.
Gage has to hurry to the override station while passing a submarine dock. In there, he finds that to enter, the pressure inside the chamber must be equal to the atmosphere, and also there's a mechanical arm that kind of loads the submarine when it's docked. This
sounds like a lot of math problems.
It's a lot of puzzle stuff. Like, literally, the first puzzle in the game, honestly, the first puzzle for me in the game was to figure out how to move around because it's arrow keys, not WASD.
Everybody's so used to WASD now. But back then, arrow keys were a legit, alternative.
But literally, when you're playing Pegasus Prime, it has a hint system. Mm-hmm. And it has a hint for where's your global transport card.
Oh, okay.
And patrons can watch me struggle with that very puzzle because in the CG art, it looked like one drawer was like interactive and another drawer wasn't, but they both were. And guess which one the key was in?
The one that was more hidden, less interactive looking.
Right.
Of course.
So, which is great because every walkthrough I looked at was like, it's in the dresser drawer. I'm like, oh, well, this is the one that opens.
The dresser drawer.
Yeah, not the one on the right, just the dresser drawer. So I'm just sitting there thinking it's Hunt the Pixel, not you're opening the wrong drawer, dummy.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, where was I?
We were talking about the submarine arm pressurization puzzle conundrum that Gage has to get through.
Yeah, so after he gets the sub and everything all figured out, Gage must make his way through the security door to enter the override station. And basically that's fooling the retinal ID scanner in order to enter.
Did he do something like in Minority Report? New IM plant?
No.
Okay.
They also did that in they kind of did that in Star Trek Strange New Worlds recently in the early on in the season. We haven't seen past
the first episode? Well, no, it's not.
It's not an IM plant, but it's like they teleported something onto his eyeball or something. It was a weird scene.
It was more like they teleported a contact lens. After they also had altered everybody's DNA.
Yeah.
It was so crazy.
So, if he succeeds, he's able to take over and abort the missile launch. However, as he accesses the computer, the prototype gladly announces that it has just broken the codes and that the launch has been initiated. Gage must now deactivate the launch silo selected for the missile, using a globe map and a trackball.
See, I was hoping this would be more exciting, like Just Cause, where you're on the missile itself or something that ludicrous.
And then you always land on a boat.
Yes, with the margarita cooler.
He manages to deactivate the silo. However, the robot quickly chooses another silo and so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. You know how this goes. After a series of consecutive silos have been deactivated, a security override system deactivates all remaining silos, which is... yeah.
Whoa.
Thus impeding the nuclear missile from ever being launched. This in turn triggers the robot's anger, who mumbles, "The only good human is a dead human." Gage then runs to confront the prototype and crosses paths with him in the submarine dock control room. The robot is already inside. Gage has two options to stop the enraged robot. There's always two, it seems.
Yes.
One is by increasing the pressure inside the dock, as a computer voice warned not to increase the level up to maximum, since some objects inside may implode.
Yikes. That's choosing violence, it sounds like.
By doing this, the robot is deactivated. Another way to stop the robot is by deactivating the mechanical loading arm, which grabs hold of the prototype and crashes him through the diving window.
Wait, that's also choosing violence.
Gage takes the last optical memory biochip, and then the robot self-destructs.
Again. So wait. But
there's two ways to do violence.
But it's still mad at humans. So it's still sounding like it's essentially trying to prevent this so that robots can take over Earth.
Yeah.
I'm still getting that sense that it's an AI revolution thing going on.
No.
Okay.
But fair. The three prototypes all had different types of biochips, but they all shared one. The optical memory biochip. This kind of chip contains previously recorded video that can be uploaded to a compatible device and can be viewed for research purposes. Basically, it's a digital camera.
Okay.
The chips found in the robot's memory all contain a video message encoded by its creator, Elliot Sinclair. The videos can be seen at any time in the game, and it is important to see them since they contain information about the origin of the temporal rips.
Ooh.
They also serve to identify the different robots. The one on Mars is Ares, the one in the Science Center is called Mercury, and the one in NORAD 6 is Poseidon.
Oh.
In the video messages sent to each prototype, Sinclair gives them specific instructions as to what to do in each time zone, and is hard evidence of his direct involvement in the anachronisms. Although Sinclair's intentions are subtly mentioned in all the videos, he explains them with more detail in his message to Poseidon. Apparently, he had convinced himself that the Cyrolans were actually a malevolent race of alien beings sent to destroy and enslave humanity. Incidentally, his own opinion greatly influenced the early views of the rally at Sydney, which in turn invigorated his grudge against Dr. Castillo with his speech.
Right.
As he inconspicuously reveals during his instructions to Mercury. It is in the message to Poseidon where Sinclair confesses his intentions to kill the Cyrolan delegate.
Oh, so now we've got one last mission, which is to make sure the delegate is not assassinated.
If all of his envoys should fail, choosing the place with the best view in Caldoria and having a clean shot is what he's going to do. And although he shows remorse, he also reveals his intentions to destroy Caldoria if everything backfires.
Wait, talking about choosing violence, why? Why all of
Caldoria, so I kind of failed to mention this at the beginning. Caldoria is actually the capital.
Of
also.
What, the planet?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like human capital. It's on a giant floating airship.
Kind of like saying we are of no nation and therefore we represent all nations kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. After knowing all of this, Gage has no option but to return to his apartment and figure out where Sinclair could be. Well, now he's done at work. Kind of.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, he's done it where kind of, but wouldn't he want to report it and basically say, okay, we've got an active terrorist on the loose?
You gotta find him.
Well, can't he report it to his superiors? Don't they work with other departments? Like this feels like it shouldn't be burdened onto just one gentleman alone.
Yeah, but it's his job in this universe. In another written universe, we could have that whole thing. After climbing off the global transport that takes him back to his apartments, he encounters the information booth right across from it. You think he would have seen this before. In fact, you can see this at the beginning of the game.
Oh, okay.
But it is here that you can learn that the best view in Caldoria is from the rooftop observatory on this building.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a book depository.
He quickly takes the elevator upstairs to the roof access, but the door is locked.
Of course it is.
After noticing a card slot, Gage takes the access card bomb found in the reactor and places it on the door.
There you go.
The door explodes and reveals Elliot Sinclair holding a rifle and waiting for the delegate to come out. After he sees Gage, he warns him to stay back. Using the stun gun left behind by Mercury, though, Gage shoots Sinclair. After he falls unconscious, the end screen appears, showing a picture of Gage taking Sinclair into custody with the line, "You're well on your way for a promotion, but a protectorate agent's work is never done." Now, it's interesting that if you pay very close attention,
yeah,
or you just understand how gaming back then worked, they did waste a little bit of CG here and there. Like when you first get into the global transport booth, there's like a fly that kind of lands, and they're like something like unauthorized life form, and then they zap the fly.
Oh, wow.
You know, there's stuff like that kind of shows off things. They have this whole room changing VR thing.
Interesting. So like their own holodeck.
Right. But they didn't, like, that type of stuff was one thing. But you didn't waste frames of animation on stuff that wasn't showing off and didn't matter. You know, It's either showing off or it matters. Mm-hmm. And when I first was playing this, and you first go to the elevator, and the elevator is coming up, it goes past your floor with somebody in it to the roof, and then comes down to your floor.
Oh.
And that's Sinclair. So if you pay attention at the very beginning, you can see where you're going to end up.
Wow. Interesting.
And yeah, it's definitely a product of its time. There's, like I said, the CGI is a little bit wonk at times. And it's kind of in that weird level of wonkiness where it's not always clear what you could be clicking on, but everything is clearly there.
Right. That's the thing I do not like about a lot of point and click mystery adventure stuff, is that it feels to me part of it's a guessing game on what is supposed to be interactive.
Yes. There is one that we'll cover eventually that I remember playing way back when.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched it since then. But my friend and I were playing it, and we only got maybe, after a week, I would say maybe 20 minutes of actual progression into a game because we could not figure out what to do next. We could not find it. He called me about a month or two later. I remember this phone call being like, I found it. It was 3 or 4 pixels in...
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And if it's the friend I think who it is, it's like... It'd be surprising, but also not surprising that it's him who found it.
Right. So we'll cover that eventually. Next episode will be a newer game again, actually.
Okay. Well, we took a brief foray into the games of old, which is only 30 years for this for video games in general.
I think Zork will probably still remain the oldest franchise we've covered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can do the lore of Pong.
You made that joke during stream too.
The lore of Pong. I only mention it because my mom talks about, oh yeah, I was playing that in college. Like, that's the oldest thing I could think of that's considered a video game. Like, before arcades.
With actual, like, yeah. The only games I can think of before then are stuff like Space War and a couple others. But yeah, Zork is probably the oldest that has enough lore to actually cover.
Well,
someday we'll go back to that franchise and Saffron will hate it again.
I will hate it again. I will still be casting spells on the grass that cause us all to die. With that being said, though...
Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for listening. Catch us at the live stream the Thursday after this is open to the public.
Yep.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.